Hello there everyone, my name is Crazy Caleb and welcome to Extended Boolean Venn Diagram. Now, before we get right into this module, I would expect you, when you come into this tutorial, I expect you to have an understanding of how logic works. This module itself is very complicated and it does require a lot of logic in mind because there is a lot going on with this module. I would expect you to know Boolean Venn diagram and logic. I will leave links to those tutorials down in the description because we're going to be using the exact same gates present from both of those. However, what we need to make sure that we understand here is we need to understand how logic works, and it's better to understand how the entire concept of logic works. So if you haven't understood that, please leave now. But because I will be going through this a little bit of a different way that I normally would with regards to this module. So let's get right into this. So this is all about Boolean and logic here. So we're going to be focusing on this diagram here, and this might look very complicated to you, and you might be wondering what the heck is going on with all this. Now, for those of you who are familiar with how Boolean Venn diagram works, if we take a look at this Boolean Venn diagram, yep. Well, what Boolean Venn diagram had was it had only 3 circles present, and in this case, we're looking at five circles here, or in this case, ovals. And what's going to be happening here is these are all intersecting in some way, shape, or form, and these are all going to be representing these different characters, A, B, C, D, and E. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out essentially where the logical expression at the top here returns true. And this is going to be a bit complicated because as you can see, what we have here is we have a series of different symbols present in here, as well as parentheses. So what's going to be happening here is that each of these logical operators are going to be compared, and imagine that you're plugging them in as sort of true or false. Now what you want to do is you want to find the series of combinations that allow you to give a true result, and this is going to be done by a little bit of work. However, it might seem like this would take a while, but with the logical knowledge in mind, what's going to be happening here is that you want to break apart this module in a very simple fashion, and you want to figure out what would result in true. So let's figure this thing out. So one of the things that we kind of want to do here is we kind of want to try everything out. And the way that everything works here is normally with Boolean Venn diagram, it would be in reading order for the way that the letters are at. So in this case, A would be the top circle, B would be the bottom left, and C would be the bottom right, essentially in reading order. Now the way that the extended Boolean Venn diagram here does it is instead of in reading order, what it does here is it's going to be moving in a clockwise fashion. And with the O, or in this case, the one at the top, the button in the top right, this represents none of them being present in this case. So this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, and this is E. And what you want to do is you want to see the intersections between each of them. And this is going to be what's representing each of these buttons. So in this case, we have this delta 1 going all the way to the top, and it's intersecting with this alpha here. And in this case, that's going to be representing AD. So these represent the truth values, and you need to figure out which ones work. So let's figure out what we can do here. Now, we want to break apart each of these logical operators. So now, if we take a look here, at the end of the parentheses here, what has to happen is we take a look at this symbol, and this the one after A, this represents XOR. Now, the way that XOR works is exactly one of the logical operators to be inputted has to be true. Exactly one. It can't be both. It can't be neither. It has to be exactly one. So what we can already determine is that we're not able to do just simply everything here, and we're not able to get true, true, and then true, true, false, and whatnot. So, but one of the things that we can do to help us here is we can figure out all of the false possibilities for the B, C, D, and E. And then what we can do is we can then input A as a true operator. So that's going to be the way that this works. So let's get right into this. So now let's focus on here, and let's see what we're comparing. So now B, C, and D, E are in their own little separate groups based off of these parentheses around it, and there's one giant parentheses comparing the result of these two operators as well. So what's in between them is going to be a XNOR. Now, this has to be, both of these results have to be the exact same, whether that be true, true, or false, false. So that's going to be what we're going to be doing to determine whether that's going to be true or not. So one of the ways that we can already do false is we need exactly one of these things to be true. So that's going to be very important. And one of the things that I'm already seeing here is that we can do BC. BC as true, so we can do ABC as a true option, because what's going to happen here is if delta and echo are both false in the XOR operator here, this is going to return as false. And what we can then do here is we can then say, we don't know what this is, but we have then X nor false. So blank X nor false, if we get this true, this is going to return as false. And then what we can do is we know that A is going to be true, A, X, or false, which in this case we're going to make A true. This works for the XOR case. So we can already break this apart, and we need to determine every single operator that will return true for this. So for BC, what is being compared here? In this case, BC is comparing implied by. Now, the way that this is going to be true here is if, in this case, the Yankee, and the way that this diagram applies it here, or in this case, the Charlie, cannot be true by itself. Because what would happen here, it would be a true going into a false. That does not make sense. That is not the way that this logical operator works. And implies is exactly the reverse of this. It's simply the one that is going, simply the one that the arrow is pointing. It's the one before the arrow that is pointing to. If that happens to be true by itself, that's not going to work. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. So now the way that we can do this is we can pretty much do every single possibility except AC for it to be true in this example here. So let's take a look. Or we can potentially do a false, but that's not going to work. So one of the ways that we can do this here is we can actually take a look at this and we can do, so ABC would work. So let's do ABC, which in this case, if we take a look here, this represents this little section right there. In this case, A, B, and C all intersect over here. This works as an option. So as you can see here, what would happen here is this represents green, and if you happen to select a wrong option, it will immediately let you know that you have given a strike. So let's continue. Let's take a look at some other options. So now it can actually just be A by itself. That's another option here, because if we do false, this would actually return as true for the implied by. The delta echo would return as false, true, false for the X nor case. This would return as false. A would return as true. So A by itself is actually an option that would work. Okay. Then what we can do here is we can do AB. AB works because it's still returning as true with this implied by. And I believe that that's going to be it for this little section right here. Now, if we were to do, for example, another option, if we were to do, for example, AC by itself, this would return normally as false. But if we were to happen to add an AC and D, and AC and E, for example, we can do ACD, ACE. Let's see what would happen. So A being true is going to be X or this equation here. So we have Bravo is going to be false, and then we have the arrow pointing towards this direction here. And then we have true. We know that this is going to return as a false. This is the one case that would actually give us the false representation here. This is not what we want. And the way that we know that this is true is because if we take a look here, the X arrow, the arrow pointing towards it, in this case the Y, if it's true, that's going to give us the white square in this little Venn diagram here. That's not going to work for us. So this is going to return as false. Now, we've already determined these last two steps, and what we're going to do with the XOR is we're going to give us the result that gives us exactly one true. In this case, the XOR wants one of these to be exactly true. So this is going to be both delta and echo would work in this case. That's what we're going to be doing here. ACD can be found where? ACD can be found right here. ACE can be found right where? Right over here. Okay, all of these options have been correct so far. And I'm sorry if I'm explaining this. It's very hard for me to explain how logic works without you guys having a little bit of base knowledge. But hopefully these Venn diagrams have been able to give you some bit of clues how they work. What the shaded areas represent is they represent the possibilities of them being true, as well as their intersections. The background itself represents if neither of them are true, and the circle that is represented by both of them, in this case having that intersection, represents both of them being true. Hopefully that makes sense, and I hope you guys are understanding this. Now, I believe at this point we've done everything where alpha can be true. So now what we can do is we can then open this up to be for alpha to be false. We want to take a look at this next option here. So we've got false XOR, and in this case we're going to go into the parentheses. Now, what we want to do is we want to find options where both of these guys are going to be true because of the fact that X nor wants us to have either a false false or a true true. So we need to find options which both of these little groups here are going to return as true. That's the way that this works. So one of the things that we can already do here is we can do a false false. And this is actually very simple to do. There's two options that we can do here, and we know for a fact that the only way that the Bravo Charlie can be false is if only Charlie is going to be true. So we can already say that if we make Charlie true, what we can then do is we can then do Charlie just by itself, because Delta and Echo would return false if they are both false. That would work. And then what would happen here also is if we do Charlie Delta Echo. And if you allow me to explain myself, what's going to happen here is that we've got the false XOR, and then what's going to happen here is that we know that Charlie Bravo, Charlie being true in this case, in the Bravo Charlie case, that's going to return as false. Then what we're going to do is we're going to XNOR this case, both Delta and Echo being either false false or true true. And if we were to XOR this, what would happen here is if we take a look at the XOR diagram, if this hasn't been clear yet, the XOR diagram gives us the false false, in this case that background image, as a false image. So this is what this is going to do, is this is going to make this whole operator false. And then if we false false XNOR, this is going to return as true. And then if we false XOR, if we do false XOR true, one of them being exactly true is exactly what we want here. So this is exactly why this is correct. Okay, so we know that Charlie is true, and we can do the exact same thing with the true true in the XOR case. And then what we can do is we can then do Charlie and then Charlie Delta Echo. So Charlie by itself, okay? Then we do Charlie Delta Echo, which in this case is over here. All right, and now we've already done all the false options for if both of them are to be false for the XNOR case. Now what we need to do is we need to find the cases where both of them, both of the X and Y are going to be true in this example here. So we want to figure out, we want to get both of these, in this case, to be true. And this is going to be a bit complicated because there's going to be a lot of different variety of options here. And one of the clear indicators that we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to figure out all the Bravo and Charlie possibilities, and then we're going to have to do both of them for the Delta option and for the Echo option as well. So keep that in mind. So first things first, let's just take a look at Bravo and Charlie by themselves. Or in this case, let's figure out all the true possibilities, and then we're going to simply just add the Delta to them and the Echo to them individually, because both of those options will work. So let's take a look at the implied by. So we've determined that both of them being false, in this case false false. Then we've also determined that we can do a true true. Then what we can do here is we can then do a true false, because of the fact that Charlie being false, which in this case is represented by the Yankee, works, and if only Bravo is true, which is represented by the X-ray, is true, that returns as true. So these are going to be the only three options that we have here. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to write all these out, and what we're going to do is we're going to then add Delta to each of them individually, and then add Echo to each of them individually. So in this case, what we can then do is we can then do Delta and Echo, because both of them are separate. I'm going to space this stuff out. So we've got Delta and then Echo. Both of these are separate operators here. Then what we can then do is we can then do Bravo Charlie Delta and Bravo Charlie Echo. Then what we can then do is Bravo Delta and then Bravo Echo, and hopefully this should solve the module, Bravo Delta, Bravo Echo. So now what we need to do is we need to select these last few ones here. So we've got Delta and Echo. Then what we're going to do is Bravo Charlie Delta. Bravo Charlie Delta is going to be over here, I believe. Yes, Bravo Charlie Delta. Then what we have next is we have Bravo Charlie Echo. Bravo Charlie and Echo is going to be found right there, that small little gap right here. Okay. Oops, excuse me, that's not what I want to show. Then what we have here is Bravo Delta, and then finally Bravo Echo. So Bravo Echo is going to be right here, and then Bravo Delta is going to be right over here. And finally, I guess the one last thing that we did not consider here is we did not consider if everything would have been false here. If everything were to be false here, that would not be true. So we're missing something else, and this is what makes this module a little bit tricky. If everything were to be true, though, yes, that actually would work. If we were to do A, B, C, D, E, as all of them being true, essentially. What we would get here is we would get true XOR true implied by true, which in this case would return true. Then what we would do is we would then get delta and echo, in this case being XOR. True, true, and XOR is returned as false. So it would be true X nor false, which would then return as false, because X nor wants you to have both of them being the exact same. And then what we have to have is true XOR false. We only want one of them to be true, exactly one of them to be true. A, B, C, D, E would work, and we're not done yet, unfortunately. So there's something else that we're missing here. And I'm trying to think. We've done ABC, we've done ABCDE. So both of those options have worked. There must be something else that we're missing here that I'm not thinking about. Is there something else that I missed? Maybe it was a true. Maybe it was a true. This one. By the way, this one is very complicated. It's definitely one of the nastier ones that you can get. Let me think. Was there something else that I missed? Maybe I was supposed to do everything with ABC. AC, AB. Make sure. So AC. No, AC is not what you want. ABC. Yeah, we did that. And we've done AB. Yep. Then we did just A. Okay, that works with that one. Then we did AD. Oh, we didn't do AD. So what we can do here is we want to do, or no, AD wouldn't work. ACD. Have we done ACD yet? ACD? ACD and ACE. We've done ACE. Have we done ACD? We have. Okay. I'm trying to think. What else am I missing here? We've already done ABC, obviously. Yeah. True. Give me a minute. Let me think about this. But as you can see, this module can take a while. Delta Echo. Oh my god, it's Delta Echo. Yeah. Yeah, it's Delta Echo. No, it's not Delta Echo. I lied. False. True. It's Delta, then Echo. CDE. Have we done CDE? We have. Okay. AB, ABC, A. I'm having a stroke here. What the hell did I do wrong here? CD. True, false. ECDE. No. EDE. Oh wow, ADE works. Yeah. Because what we do here is we get a true from the Bravo Charlie. We get a false from the Delta Echo. True, false makes it false. ADE works. Okay. I'm missing something else then. ABDE. Yeah, ABDE also works. There we go. Alright. Sorry, I couldn't think there for a second. Yeah, AGE works and ABDE works. I'm going to do one more example, and I would like to apologize for taking so long to explain that. I actually had to do some thinking there myself, too. That was a really tough one. But hopefully you guys understand the logical process of this. It is a little bit hard to explain, but it's not too hard once you understand how it works. I'm going to leave a link to the descriptions in the tutorial for logic and Boolean Venn diagram. Obviously, I would not recommend learning extended Boolean Venn diagram for a while. Get a better idea of how logical operators work, and you shall be fine. Now, for this next one, I'm going to solo this. I'm going to see if I can get this one right, because of the fact that there's not really much else I can explain here. And I hope that you guys are able to understand my mumbles. So let's take a look. Hopefully we can get one that's actually like a one that I can logically deduce very well. Okay, this one's actually a really good one. So this one is NAND, and there's a lot of options that you can do for NAND. The only way that you can not get a NAND is if they are both going to return as true. We need at least one to be false or both. And one of the things that I'm immediately realizing here is that the only way that we can actually, we can already eliminate a lot of options. If we happen to have both delta and echo as true, we can simply avoid this and here. Because that's the only way that this is ever going to be true. This is the only way the Yankee is ever going to return as true. So we can simply avoid both of these being true and actually just submit all of the options there. So we can already do everything inside of A, B, and C as long as both D and E are not present. That's going to be very helpful for us. So AB works, just B, BE, BCE, yeah, that works. BC, just C, AC, ABC, ABCE works, ABE, ABDE, nope, that's not what we want to do. ABD, ADE, nope. AE works, ACE, ACDE, nope. CDE, nope. BCD, CD, BD, just D, just E, DE, nope, CE, yep, ABCD, ACD, and now this is kind of the part where we have both of them having DE present, and this is where we're going to have to do some bit of evaluation. So what we were able to do essentially here was we were able to logically, oh, hold on, let me get the O as well. Well, that's if all are false. So what we were able to logically deduce here is we take a look at this one side, for example, with the DE. DE is represented by and the way that this is only going to be true is if both are going to be, if both are going to be true. Now, what we know here is the last operator that we're going to be working with is going to be a NAND. And the only way that this is going to be returning as false is if both of them happen to be true. It's the exact opposite of NAND. It's not AND. And the way that we were able to logically deduce this was we were able to essentially deduce all options that that don't have delta and echo present in both of them. So we were able to deduce this to these last few options here, in which case they both have delta and echo present. This is the only one that intersects with it. So now, what we need to do now is we need to determine, first off, what exactly do we want to look at here? And let's determine what we can do here. So what we can do here is if we take a look at what we have on the left side of the equation here, what we want to do is we want these guys to return as false. We need we have to have these guys to return as false. That's the only way that we're going to work with this delta and echo. So we need to figure out how exactly we can make this work. So one of the things that I can already see happen here is I can already see, for example, an ABC. ABCDE works. And the way that this makes sense here is if we take a look here, so if we were to do B and C first, in this case with a NOR works like this. If both are false, it will be true. That's the only way that applies for NOR. So now what we can then do is we can then do true and true, which would return as false for this NOR. Then we can then do a true and false. Wait, hold on, that's not going to work. What we want to do is we want to do just A in this example. We would do the exact opposite. So if it was just A, what would happen here is we would then have A being true, X or true, because Bravo and Charlie being both false would return as true. So then true in an XOR fashion. In this case, would return as false in the middle here. So this means that just ADE works. So ADE works as an option, and just like that, it's good to go. Next up, if we were to do ABDE, that would not work. We know that for a fact, because what this would do is this would return alpha and Bravo. This would return this Bravo Charlie equation as false. We want it to return true if we're going to be selecting alpha here. So we can already determine that this is going to be returning these guys as false. Now, anything pretty much at this point with A other than the just A by itself being true in this case, that would not work. So we can already eliminate that option. And now what we want to do is we want to change A to a false. And what we want to do now is we want to find a way how to get Bravo and Charlie to return as false in this case, because a false in an XOR is going to equal false. In this case, XOR, false in an XOR returns to false. That's what we want. So let's determine this. And essentially what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to select all the options that have at least one Bravo or one Charlie present, or both of them present. And that's going to be what we're going to do here. So we're going to do Bravo Charlie, Delta Echo. That works. Bravo Delta Echo. And then finally Charlie Delta Echo. And just like that is a solved module. Now the reason why Delta Echo doesn't work is because what would happen there is that would be returning to a, so that would be then, it would be True, it would be false, XOR the result of Bravo and Charlie, which in this case is false, nor false, which would then return true. False, XOR true is going to return to true. And then what would happen here is that this would be true, NAND, true and true, which in this case would return to true, and then true and true, it returns to false. That's why delta echo would not work right. So I hope all this makes sense. I hope you guys understand Boolean Venn at this point. It's a very simple module. It's just the way that this module works now is it works clockwise. It is a bit more complicated formulas, and I'm sorry if I didn't explain logic correctly accurately or user-friendly, but it's just the way that I know how logic works. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay crazy, stay cool, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.